In the quiet suburbs of Austin, Texas, Sam and Emily Patterson were the picture-perfect couple. Sam, a 38-year-old financial advisor, had built a successful career helping families secure their futures. Known for his charm and confidence, he was the kind of man who could put anyone at ease. Emily, 34, was a kind-hearted elementary school teacher who had dedicated her life to nurturing young minds. The two met in college, fell in love, and built a seemingly perfect life together, complete with a cozy home and a tight-knit community of friends. To outsiders, their marriage was a fairy tale. They attended neighborhood barbecues, volunteered at local charities, and were often seen taking evening strolls hand in hand. Emily's family adored Sam, especially her younger sister Rachel. Rachel, 28, was an artist living a more carefree bohemian lifestyle. Despite their differences, Emily and Rachel were close, sharing a bond that had grown even stronger after the sudden death of their parents a few years earlier. Rachel often visited the Pattersons, finding solace in their warm, welcoming home. She looked up to Emily as a role model, and Sam had always treated her like a younger sister. However, as time passed, subtle tensions began to brew beneath the surface. Emily noticed that Sam seemed unusually attentive to Rachel. At first, she brushed it off as nothing more than friendly affection. After all, Sam was a generous man, always willing to lend a helping hand. But then came the late-night conversations, the frequent texts, and the lingering glances that made Emily's stomach churn with unease. Sam had always been good at keeping up appearances, maintaining his image as the devoted husband and upstanding community member. But what Emily didn't know was that Sam's relationship with Rachel had crossed boundaries long ago. The innocent exchanges had slowly morphed into something far more sinister, something that threatened to destroy everything Emily believed about her marriage and her family. As the weeks turned into months, Emily's unease about Sam and Rachel's closeness grew. Sam often brushed off her concerns with a smile, reassuring her that she was overthinking things, but Emily's intuition told her otherwise. She began noticing Rachel's frequent presence at their home, even when Emily was away at work. The conversations between Sam and Rachel, once light and casual, had taken on an intensity that Emily couldn't quite put her finger on. Sam's behavior became increasingly erratic. He would disappear for hours without explanation, claiming work was keeping him busy. His phone, once left carelessly around the house, was now always within his grasp, guarded with a secrecy that only fueled Emily's suspicions. Late at night, Emily would catch glimpses of him texting furiously, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the screen. Rachel, meanwhile, seemed to be withdrawing from her sister, always finding excuses to avoid their usual heart-to-heart talks. Emily felt trapped between her growing distrust of Sam and her desire to protect Rachel. She couldn't bring herself to confront either of them directly, fearing that doing so would shatter the fragile balance of their lives. Unbeknownst to Emily, Sam and Rachel's relationship had taken a dark turn. What had started as innocent flirting had escalated into a full-blown affair. They met in secret, cheap motels on the outskirts of town, secluded spots in nearby parks, anywhere they could be together without the risk of being seen. Sam was intoxicated by the thrill of it all, the danger, the secrecy, the power he felt in manipulating both women. For Rachel, the affair was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She idolized Emily, yet she found herself drawn to Sam's charisma and attention. He filled a void in her life, giving her the validation she craved. But as the affair intensified, Rachel's guilt gnawed at her. She knew what she was doing was wrong, but she couldn't find the strength to break free from Sam's hold. The affair's intensity only fueled Sam's darker impulses. He began manipulating Rachel, planting seeds of doubt about Emily. He painted himself as the victim of a loveless marriage, trapped with a wife who didn't understand him. Rachel, caught between her loyalty to Emily and her feelings for Sam, found herself ensnared in a toxic web of deceit. By late summer, the tension in the Patterson household had reached a breaking point. Emily's once vibrant personality had dimmed, weighed down by the constant sense of betrayal lurking just beneath the surface. Sam's late nights and evasive behavior had become impossible to ignore, and Rachel's increasingly erratic visits felt like salt in an open wound. One evening, Emily decided she couldn't take it anymore. Armed with a mix of anger, heartbreak, and desperation, she confronted Sam about his secretive behavior. As she stood in the doorway of their bedroom, her voice trembling with emotion, she demanded answers. Sam, cornered and caught off guard, resorted to his usual tactics: deflection, denial, and gaslighting. But this time, Emily was relentless. She had scoured through phone records, pieced together half-truths, and followed her instincts to the edge of her breaking point. Sam's calm facade began to crack under the pressure of her accusations. When he finally admitted to the affair, it was more out of frustration than remorse. The revelation was a bombshell that detonated right in the heart of their home. Emily's world crumbled in an instant. She screamed, tears streaming down her face, demanding to know why he had betrayed her with her own sister. Sam's explanations were hollow, filled with excuses about feeling unloved and misunderstood. But Emily knew the truth. This was about power, control, and Sam's insatiable need for validation. Rachel, who had been waiting in her apartment across town, felt a surge of panic when she received a frantic call from Sam. He warned her that Emily knew everything and was unraveling fast. Against her better judgment, Rachel rushed to the Pattersons' house, hoping she could somehow defuse the situation. As soon as she entered, the air was thick with tension. Emily, still reeling from Sam's confession, turned her fury on Rachel. The confrontation between the sisters was explosive. Accusations flew, and long-buried resentments bubbled to the surface. Emily's heartbreak turned to rage as she lashed out, feeling utterly betrayed by the two people she trusted most. The argument escalated, voices rising to a fever pitch. Sam, realizing he was losing control of the situation, tried to mediate, but his attempts only made things worse. Emily's anger, once directed at Sam, now found a new target in Rachel. The sisters' bond, once unbreakable, was now torn apart by lies and betrayal. In the chaos, Rachel's guilt and fear overwhelmed her. She tearfully begged for Emily's forgiveness, but the damage was too deep. Emily's pain was raw and unfiltered, her voice cracking as she condemned both Sam and Rachel for destroying her life. As the confrontation reached its peak, Emily stormed out of the house, vowing that she would never forgive them. Emily spent the next few days in a daze, retreating to a close friend's home to escape the suffocating weight of her betrayal. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Her thoughts were a storm of anger, hurt, and confusion. The perfect life she had built with Sam had disintegrated into a nightmare, and she couldn't bring herself to face the ruins of her marriage or her fractured relationship with Rachel. Meanwhile, Sam and Rachel were left to pick up the pieces. They spent hours together, plotting how to move forward now that their secret was out. Sam tried to convince Rachel that they could still be together, that Emily's reaction was just a temporary hurdle. But Rachel was no longer under Sam's spell. The confrontation had ripped away the veil of their affair, revealing the full extent of Sam's manipulative nature. She felt disgusted with herself, ashamed of what she had done to her sister, and conflicted about her future. On the night of September 10th, Sam invited Rachel over to the house, insisting that they needed to talk. He had been drinking heavily, his judgment clouded by alcohol and desperation. Rachel hesitated, but ultimately agreed, hoping they could figure out a way to make amends, to put an end to the chaos they had created. When Rachel arrived, the house was eerily quiet. Sam was sitting in the dimly lit kitchen, a half-empty bottle of whiskey beside him. His demeanor was tense, a far cry from the confident, charming man she had once admired. Rachel sat down, her nerves frayed, and listened as Sam rambled about how everything had fallen apart. He blamed Emily, claimed she was overreacting, and insisted that things could go back to how they were before. But Rachel wasn't buying it anymore. She told Sam that she couldn't continue their relationship, that she needed to make things right with Emily and start fresh. Sam's expression darkened, his calm facade replaced by a dangerous edge. He accused Rachel of betraying him, of abandoning him just when he needed her most. The conversation spiraled into a heated argument, the tension between them palpable and menacing. Rachel, now fully realizing the extent of Sam's volatility, stood up to leave. But Sam wasn't ready to let her go. As she turned to walk away, he grabbed her arm with a force that sent a jolt of fear through her. The situation escalated rapidly. Rachel struggled to break free, and in his drunken state, Sam's grip tightened. Fueled by anger and alcohol, Sam's control snapped. The fight turned physical, a blur of frantic movements and desperate shouts. In the chaos, Sam reached for a kitchen knife, the same one Emily had used to prepare countless family dinners. Rachel screamed, her voice echoing through the empty house as Sam lunged at her. The first stab was clumsy, but the shock and pain sent Rachel reeling. Sam, blinded by rage and desperation, continued the assault, the knife plunging into Rachel repeatedly. The once vibrant young woman collapsed to the floor, her lifeblood pooling beneath her as her body went limp. In the immediate aftermath, Sam stood over Rachel's lifeless body, panting heavily, the gravity of his actions crashing down on him. His hands were stained with blood, his mind reeling from the violent outburst. But instead of remorse, all he felt was panic. He hadn't planned for this, he had lost control, and now he was standing over the sister of the woman he'd sworn to love and protect. In his panic, Sam realized he needed to cover his tracks. He hastily dragged Rachel's body to the basement, hiding her among storage boxes and old furniture. He knew Emily would be coming home soon. She had texted earlier, saying she needed to collect some things. Desperate to maintain some semblance of control, Sam cleaned the kitchen, scrubbing away the bloodstains and trying to compose himself. When Emily returned home, she immediately sensed something was wrong. The house was eerily silent, and Sam's nervous demeanor set off alarms in her mind. She asked about Rachel, but Sam shrugged, claiming he hadn't seen her. Emily's suspicions grew, but she brushed past Sam, determined to gather her belongings and leave as quickly as possible. As Emily moved through the house, she noticed something was off. Small things that didn't add up. A wine glass left out on the counter, Rachel's bag abandoned near the door, the faint metallic smell in the air. A sinking feeling took hold as she ventured down to the basement, the door creaking ominously as she descended the stairs. Emily's heart dropped when she saw Rachel's lifeless body sprawled on the cold concrete floor. She screamed, her voice filled with agony and horror. The sight of her sister covered in blood was too much to bear. In a flash, all the anger she had felt toward Rachel was replaced by an overwhelming sense of loss and guilt. She stumbled backward, desperate to escape the grisly scene. Emily turned to run, but Sam was already behind her. His eyes were wild, his face twisted in a mix of fear and resolve. He knew Emily had seen too much. Before she could react, Sam grabbed her, dragging her back into the basement. Emily fought with every ounce of strength she had, clawing at Sam's face and screaming for help, but Sam's grip was unrelenting. In a frenzy, he lashed out with the same knife he had used on Rachel, silencing Emily's cries in a swift, brutal motion. The basement became a scene of unimaginable horror. Both sisters lay lifeless, their bodies a testament to the depths of Sam's betrayal and madness. The man who had once been their protector had now become their executioner. Sam, now drenched in the blood of both women, staggered back, his mind blank with shock. In the days that followed, Sam's attempts to cover up the murders quickly unraveled. Neighbors reported the sounds of screaming to the police, leading investigators to the Patterson home. When authorities arrived, they found Sam sitting in the living room, dazed and muttering incoherently. The basement revealed the full extent of his heinous crime. Two sisters, brutally murdered at the hands of the man they had both trusted. The evidence against Sam was overwhelming. Forensic teams documented the bloodstains, the knife, and the chaotic signs of a struggle. During his interrogation, Sam's initial attempts to deny involvement quickly crumbled. Faced with the damning evidence, he eventually confessed, detailing the events that led to the grisly double murder. His lack of remorse, even as he recounted the killings, shocked even the most seasoned detectives. The trial was swift, drawing national attention due to the shocking nature of the crime. Sam was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was filled with a palpable sense of grief and anger as friends, family members, and onlookers struggled to comprehend the senseless violence that had destroyed 2 lives. The murders of Emily and Rachel Patterson became a chilling reminder of how quickly trust and love can be twisted into something deadly. The once idyllic suburban home now stood as a haunting symbol of betrayal, manipulation, and the darkest corners of human nature. Sam's double life had not only torn a family apart, but had left a permanent scar on the community that had once admired him.